Professors tend to be long-winded, so and I know the rigidness of the timekeeper, so I've prepared some remarks based on a paper that I just wrote on Bolivia that I printed 10 copies, and you'll be able to get them, and it's also on our website at the Jack Gordon Institute. I want to especially thank the Institute for hosting this. I want to give our welcome also to our colleagues from our Argentine partner university, Universidad Austral, and of course Infobae, and I'm especially pleased that we were able to lure you here after the government shutdown. I also want to welcome such a distinguished panel here of former heads of state, former secretary generals, and so on. And so thank you very much. And I'm also delighted to be able to follow such a distinguished panel, especially somebody who I went to school with in Bolivia many years ago, Doug Farah. So let me start out by sort of combining the good news, bad news story here. And my talk is called Territories of Coca and Cocaine, okay? Bolivia at a Crossroads. I think Bolivia stands at a crossroads today, at a historic crossroads. On October 19th, Bolivians will choose between Jorge Tuto Quiroga and Rodrigo Paz. On November 8th, a new president will take office. That's sort of the good news. For 2 decades, Bolivia has been governed as what I now term a narco-competitive authoritarian regime, a system where elections were held and formal democratic institutions remained in place. Incumbents, however, manipulated the playing field through repression, through judicial interference, and through systemic harassment of opponents, while the cocaine economy infiltrated unions, regions, and government institutions. In that sense, and I think this is probably a very understudied phenomenon, Bolivia has become a hub for the global cocaine trade. This hybrid regime, following Gervasoni's kind of notion of hybrid regimes, blurred the line between the state and the criminal enterprise. Political control was maintained through cocalero unions, through state institutions that were weakened, and the cocaine trade, which financed local power while linking Bolivia to trafficking organizations, as Doug Farah's work has demonstrated, from Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, Italy, the Balkans, Turkey, Russia, and others, which we have yet to identify. Now, the good news, in a sense, is that today the system is unraveling politically, and the authoritarian structure is ending, even though, just listening to the radio this morning, it looks like there's still some, few pataleos by the MAS and trying to postpone the inevitable result. So while the system is unraveling politically and the authoritarian structure is ending, the narcotics infrastructure remains fully operational. And to me, that is the gravest challenge. And that is why Bolivia faces a very unique moment. Bolivia is indeed witnessing the end of authoritarianism, but it is not witnessing the end of narco-trafficking power. And that's what makes it challenging. So whoever inherits Bolivia on November the 8th inherits both the opportunity and the obligation to confront this legacy. So let me just very quickly, in the minutes that I have left, note the 4 zones of challenge that really comprise this hub that I've been talking about. These 4 regions that together are really the spine of the illicit economy in Bolivia, and the hub, the central South American hub for cocaine. First is the Chapare, which all of you are familiar with, which is the production engine. Once kind of a symbol of indigenous empowerment even, it is now the epicenter of illicit coca leaf production and the refinement of cocaine. Okay? Unions that once defended farmers now protect an economy where most coca, 90% in fact, becomes cocaine. Chemists run mega labs with near impunity. Second is the Yungas, the cultural heart of the coca, and also the place where my family comes from. Here the issue is political manipulation, imposed leaders, parallel markets, and the loss of trust between growers and the state. Restoring confidence and legitimacy there will require transparency and genuine dialogue. I'm not out advocating the complete eradication of coca, primarily because of the cultural tradition. Third, Santa Cruz, the cocaine production, logistics, and laundering hub of Bolivia. Our economic capital today has become a safe haven for the PCC, the Comando Vermelho, the CJNG, Ndrangheta, Balkan groups, etc. These groups move drugs, launder money, and infiltrate business networks. Combating this will demand clean institutions and strong financial intelligence, that other FIU you're talking about. Fourth, and this is probably a relatively new discovery, and I think my paper has gone in great depth into the Altiplano corridor, Chayapata, that area called Mexico Chico, all right? The name Mexico Chico means something, of course. It's a forgotten frontier which now funnels drugs westward through Chilean ports to Asia. So the point there is, like in the Chapare and like elsewhere, where the state is absent, organized crime rules. And by the way, in Mexico Chico, it's the Clan del Golfo, which is extraordinarily involved. Together, these zones show what Bolivia became, a nodal state in a continental network of transnational organized crime. So this is, now let me focus on sort of the recommendation part here. This is an opportunity for leadership, for Bolivian leadership. Because I think geography is destiny, but only if a nation accepts it, okay? Bolivia's position at the center of South America can become a strategic advantage, right? As the political cycle of narco-authoritarianism ends, the next administration can inaugurate a new era of democratic and regional leadership. So leadership in this sense, whether it's Rodrigo Paz or Tuto Quiroga, means acting first, not waiting for others, all right? So in that sense, among the things I would tell both of these people is, why not convene a South American summit on transnational crime, bringing together the affected nations? Why not invite regional partners, the United States, the European Union, even China, Mexico, Italy, and so on, who are, in fact, whose criminal networks intersect with Bolivia's? Why not renew and work hand in hand with multilateral organizations, the UNODC, the UN, the OAS, and so on, to create a framework for intelligence, some of which was being developed in the late 90s, right, and which has kind of collapsed? And why not come up with a South American Center for Organized Crime Coordination, right? Maybe even in Bolivia, right? In my view, this is not utopian. It is bold, but it's really practical diplomacy that turns Bolivia's centrality into regional leadership. So in conclusion, how do we go from a hub of trafficking to a hub of solutions? On November 8th, the president is going to face this defining choice. Bolivia can remain a hub for traffickers, or it can become the hub for cooperation and reform. If it calls on its neighbors, if it engages global partners, if it reclaims the integrity of its institutions, Bolivia can replace 2 lost decades of narco-authoritarianism with an era of sovereign leadership. After 20 turbulent years, the message, I think, should be simple. Bolivia's new leadership should be ready not only to end narco-authoritarianism, but also end the fight against the transnational crime hub that this movement has left behind. Thank you very much.